Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's May 27th, 2015, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, the censorship warriors on social media force PacSun to pull their upside-down U.S. flag t-shirts. Plus, a self-parking Volvo malfunctions at a demonstration and plows right into journalists. That can't be good. And a U.S. Marine is court-martialed for refusing to remove a Bible verse from her computer. All that plus much more up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
And we begin tonight with a story about our First Amendment. We've given you stories before about kids being kicked out of school for wearing American flag t-shirts, but now we have the fashion outlet, PacSun. They've come under some heavy fire because they dare have a American flag t-shirt presented upside down. Now, many people took exception to this. There are numerous tweets. I'll just read one here to you. Honestly, if you don't respect the flag of the United States, go to some other country whose flag won't offend you. Now, I'll give these commenters the benefit of the doubt and say that they have the best of intentions when they stand up for the U.S. flag in this way, but I don't think they exactly understand what an upside down flag means. Now, if you burn a flag, if you stomp on a flag, oh yes, that is offensive and you're trying to be very controversial. But if you have an upside down flag, all that is a symbol of distress. It means there's something wrong, there's something not right. If you come across a base out somewhere and the flag is upside down, oh man, there's something going on here. I need to go check it out. And that's what an upside down flag represents. Now, as far as PacSun, were they trying to make any type of political statement? I'm not exactly sure, but the American flag in general hung upside down is not offensive. It's just a sign of distress. What type of distress? Well, let's go talk to our troops. They have them growing the opium in Afghanistan. They come back home. They can't get any treatment, running guns into Mexico, CIA bringing cocaine in, all types of wild, crazy things that have happened through the course of our American history. So yes, I would say our country is in distress. And for more on this, if you would like to get your own upside down American flag t-shirt, because you may not be able to get it at PacSun, you can go to the InfoWarsShop.com and pick up one, or you can pre-order one, that is to say, because they're not in just yet, but they will be soon. For the price of $19.95, you can get your upside down American flag t-shirt. And it also has some subtext on there so you can explain to people why you are wearing such a thing in these United States. Now, as we continue our talk about free speech, not just the American flag, but also people's religious beliefs. We've talked to you before about the people at Fort Hood being classified as terrorists for there being a Christian in the United States of America. And now we have a Marine court-martialed for refusing to remove a Bible verse from her computer. And they said that it could easily be seen as contrary to good order and discipline. This is what they said about Lance Corporal Sterling. And the heinous phrase that she dare had on her computer, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," which I think if you're a Marine is a pretty good thing to keep in mind. And it says that Ms. Sterling is currently unemployed and looking for work, but because she had a bad discharge, it's making it very difficult for her. So I hope that people will come to her and support her in her time of need. Now, we all have needs of certain things, and modern conveniences, I guess, kind of fills that gap. We have smartphones, we have smart TVs, you can even buy a smart refrigerator that tells you when you're out of milk. But what about a smart car? If something goes wrong with these things, who is going to be held accountable? And most people who think about smart cars think of them as something like this.
Stop.
But in actuality, self-driving cars are much more like this. And this is a self-parking Volvo, and it just plowed into a man because the owner did not pay the extra fee to get the feature that stops cars from crashing into people. Now, it seems to me that you would want this to be somewhat of a standard feature, just like a horn or a headlight or a seatbelt. But in the trendiness, the trendy world of the automobile, they want you to pay extra for something that could actually save somebody's life. And who's going to be held responsible if this thing goes on the road and kills somebody? Well, you can bet your bottom dollar Volvo is going to do everything, or whoever these automated car makers are going to do everything to make sure that they're not held in the wrong. They're probably going to blame the driver. Well, you didn't pay that extra however much to get that special feature, so it's your fault and you need to be held accountable. Now, talking about accountability, an agency that does not have this at all, the NSA. And now we have this report saying the NSA can identify you by your smartphone handwriting. Well, what does that mean? The NSA has technology that can identify anyone from the way they swiped in text on a smartphone, according to officials with Lockheed Martin who helped design it. So there you go, everybody who says that nobody's tracking you on your phone, nobody can look at your pictures. We'll go tell that to Kate Upton, and all the rest of the starlets have their naked selfies all over the internet. And now they're saying they can even track you by the way you type on your smartphone. So there you go, everybody who thinks that the surveillance state is not real. And we'll end tonight with something that definitely wasn't real. A group of anti-gunners got together and said, hey, let's put together a shop where we can bring people in and shame them into not buying a firearm. And then they took a step back. Well, how about if we get paid actors to play these salespeople? People said, okay. Then they took it another step and said, well, let's just fake the whole thing. We'll put up cameras everywhere. It'd be like a reality show minus the reality, where we'll have our staff behind the counter as actors. We'll have actors in front of the counter, and it'll all be fake, what will make guns look bad. And it says paid actors posed to be potential gun buyers who were convinced by a gun store clerk, also an actor, not to buy a firearm as part of an anti-gun group's experiment designed to deceive the public. So these are the type of dirty tricks they have to play. They have to completely fake something to make you believe that everybody hates guns in the United States of America, whereas you can contrast that what happened here in the state of Texas. A couple of years ago, we go out to the Alamo. There's 1,000+ people who showed up, marched peacefully. Nobody got shot, lo and behold. And these are the type of things that actually happen in reality. We don't have to fake, good, peaceful people coming together. And of course, you can go Google and find, a couple of rambunctious guys, having words being mouthy with people. And that's another thing I want to talk about. To all these anti-gun groups who say that, these open carriers or whoever come out and harass your guys, at the footage we just showed you of those guys marching at the Capitol or at the Alamo, there's an anti-gun group who will remain nameless because whatever. They came and trolled us. They put up a picture of Master Sergeant C.J. Grisham, U.S. Army retired, saying, hey, this is the type of guy who wants guns in the United States of America because he's a returning veteran, has fought for his country, and wants the rights that he fought to protect when he comes back home. So one day, he's out, having a nice walk with his son, and he has an AR-15, I believe it was, strapped to his chest. He encounters an officer in his county. The officer says, sir, why do you have this firearm? He says, well, officer, you know as well as I do, there are wild hogs and other type of game out here. I need to protect my son if a situation should arise. The officer says, well, sir, I'm going to arrest you for rudely displaying a firearm. Long story short, the anti-gun group trolled CJ and all the open carriers, and then they get mad when open carriers show up to their events. Now, these things are happening less and less frequently, but just to put that on record so everybody knows. And that's a very long-winded way of telling you that we do have a new sponsor. It's a firearms manufacturer, and we'll show you that new commercial, that new ad coming up here in just one moment. But coming up after this break, we have a special report from Paul Joseph Watson, and also I'll talk to a very concerned citizen about the state of our affairs in the United States of America, talking about how officers deal with dogs in the field. Stay tuned. This is the INFOWARS Nightly News.
96% of Americans believe that the US will witness more Baltimore-style riots this summer. The elite know that these riots are coming because, to a large extent, their policies have created the environment for them. Wealth inequality, which is proven to cause social unrest, is at its worst since before World War II. But wealth inequality isn't caused by a failure of capitalism, it's caused by catastrophic Keynesian central bank policies that have instituted endless money printing and worldwide inflation.
And it's not just America, it's the world. The gap between the rich and the poor has widened everywhere.
This huge disparity is not because of some flaw in capitalism. The problem is central banks that are out of control, printing money like no one ever imagined, and have created a massive worldwide financial inflation.
But by blaming capitalism, leftists who warn about wealth inequality are playing right into the elite's hands, because their solution is going to be more power in the hands of the state and central banks, the very same policies which caused the problem in the first place. Wealth inequality is being exacerbated by a drop in real wages. As real wages drop, it will become increasingly harder to pacify younger generations via consumer culture. With religion, family and social mobility all declining in influence, lifestyles built around the acquisition of products will become harder to maintain as the economic environment worsens, prompting further disenfranchisement amongst young people. This effect is amplified by the global political awakening acknowledged by elitists like Zbigniew Brzezinski, a political renaissance that has been driven by the increasingly widespread availability of information thanks to the internet.
I'm deeply troubled that a very vague, emotionally stated, semi-theologically defined diagnosis of the central global menace is obscuring our national ability to comprehend the historically unprecedented challenge which is being posed in our time by a massive global political awakening, and thus is obstructing our ability to deal effectively with the global political turmoil that this awakening is generating.
This awakening has in turn led to more distrust in government and leadership in the United States and other Western countries, another precondition for civil unrest. The toxic cocktail of increased corruption, social alienation and lack of community, all contributory factors to the 2011 London riots, will heighten the risk of domestic disorder. In an effort to derail this organic global political awakening, elitists like George Soros, who predicted class war and riots over 3 years ago, are bankrolling what on the surface appear to be grassroots uprisings in an effort to steer and divert their impact. This is why Black Lives Matter, funded to the tune of $33 million by Soros, has increasingly become about toxic racial division instead of addressing the causes of police brutality. An uprising that could have been centered on reducing state power has instead been hijacked from below by criminal opportunists and from above by the elite itself. Now that this uprising has been subverted, the elite will use the fallout, violent riots and looting in major cities across America, to enlist support from average Americans for an increase in state power. And in the aftermath of the next financial collapse, economic totalitarianism, government-controlled bank accounts, and a move towards banning cash altogether. It's the age-old problem, reaction, solution method at play once again. As Brandon Smith explains, the international banking cult has no interest whatsoever in saving the current system, despite the assumptions of many market analysts. Their only goal has been to stave off the visible effects of the crisis until a new system is ready, psychologically justified in the public consciousness, to be put into place. This new system will be characterized by more authoritarianism, a bigger police state, and less economic freedom. And we know that the elite are expecting this crisis because they've made very clear preparations to deal with the fallout. The New York Times reported that the wealthy are installing expensive bulletproof safe rooms in their luxury apartments and homes to protect against increased criminality, looting, and physical threats to their safety. Economist Robert Johnson also revealed that elitists at the Davos Economic Forum told him they were buying remote hideaways in places like New Zealand to escape potential Ferguson-style uprisings on a bigger scale.
A lot of very wealthy and powerful people are quite afraid right now. They see us on an unstable trajectory. They don't see our political institutions being what you might call representative, responsive, and pulling things together. But as the system doesn't have proper resources, as it doesn't represent people, things are getting more and more dangerous, as, say, Ferguson, Missouri brings to bear.
When asked, realtors selling this property said their wealthy clients were making these purchases because they were, quote, paranoid about, quote, what is happening around them. Urban unrest experts